I saw them tearing a building down, a gang of men in a busy town. With a yo-heave-ho and a lusty yell, they swung a beam and the sidewall fell. I asked the foreman if these men were skilled, and those he would hire if he had to build. He laughed and said, "Oh no, indeed. Common labor is all I need. I can wreck in a week or two what builders have taken years to do." So I asked myself as I went my way, which of these roles am I to play? Am I the builder who works with care, measuring life by rule and square? Or am I the wrecker who walks the town, content with the role of tearing down? Which are you? Good afternoon. It's been an interesting day so far, and I am honored to be part of such an illustrious group of presenters. I know you've had lots to think about, and I'm just adding one more layer to the discussion. Over the next 10 minutes, I would like to present to you a new concept on adaptive philanthropy and a new direction in creating social structures. The question posed in the poem, The Builders, is one that I have pondered as I build a company that straddles the charitable world and the corporate world. The idea of social enterprise is one that has been explored here today and is a growing trend in our marketplace. Traditionally, society is described as a three-legged stool. It is comprised of public, corporate, and charitable sectors. By removing one of these three legs, the stool will collapse. Our society currently has a wobbly leg. Our charitable sector is built upon income tax laws that were established by Queen Elizabeth I in the early 1600s. Tell me about it. And for all intents and purposes, these laws have not changed, even though the sector itself has evolved and society has evolved. The act of philanthropy was primarily driven by the church and religious-based sector, and today, religious institutions make up the bulk of charitable donations. However, service delivery is no longer limited to those religious organizations. In fact, Canada's charitable sector is made up of 161,000, let me say that again, 161,000 nonprofit and charitable organizations. And that number is expected to double in the next decade. So what is this new concept of adaptive philanthropy? Or in the terms of today's event, Philanthropy 3.0. Before I explain the concept, I want to describe the landscape. I am suggesting that we take a new look at how we structure society. We have created a system where year after year, charities are forced to put their hands out and say, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" And year after year, costs go up, donor fatigue increases, and the charitable sector grows because people feel that they can do things better, faster, differently, or more effectively. These social dynamics and operational constructs conflict with each other, putting strains on leadership, financial support, and accessibility. It also makes it difficult for those who invest in the resources to speak a common language with those who are accessing the resources. Feeding into this cycle is an intergenerational wealth transfer that we are at the beginning stages of. An anticipated $8 trillion is going to be entering into Canada's marketplace until 2050. To put this into perspective, if we were to take 8 trillion single dollar bills and line them end to end, it would end up stretching 542,928 miles. But in Canada, we don't measure distance by miles, and we don't have single dollar bills. We do, however, have $100 bills. So, I live in a community called Ramsey. And for those of you who don't know that area of Calgary very well, I'd like to describe it to you. My neighborhood is surrounded by trains. Needless to say, I have ample opportunity to time train crossings. I figure it takes about 1 minute for each car to go from one end of the crossing to the other end across one of these intersections. So if we were to fill up 708 freight train cars with $100 bills, it would take approximately 11.5 hours for those cars to cross from one end of the intersection in my neighborhood to the other. That's what $8 trillion looks like. And these funds can go to one of three places. They go to the inheritor, they go back into the society in the shape of new businesses or charities that either already exist or will be existed, or taxes. So it's how we manage the transfer of these funds that's going to define our new social systems. And it's going to define those for the next few generations. We need to start thinking in our time about what's coming down the line and significantly ahead of the curve. Our social systems are changing rapidly. As Thomas Friedman states in his best-selling book, The World is Flat. Concepts like shared leadership and crowdsourcing are driving the way businesses and organizations operate. Opportunities for micro-volunteering are changing the way that previous generations of volunteers have donated time. Social entrepreneurs are increasingly challenging the space that lies between being a business and being a charity, where they are putting society at the core of their business, and they are not apologizing for making a living, and they're not apologizing for making a profit at it. Social enterprises are filling in where charities, due to the constraints that society has placed on them, are falling short. Whereas companies are financially motivated and government is directed at providing safety and security, charities are for building community. Social enterprises flatten out the social system, allowing for easier and more effective integration of knowledge sharing between the three silos of business, government, and the nonprofit sector. With the flattening of society in part resulting from the growth of social enterprises, new forces are playing upon traditional management systems. One of these forces is what I'm calling adaptive philanthropy. Philanthropy 3.0 is a change process undertaken by individuals and groups to address social issues. To be clear, this is not the only way that philanthropy is morphing in our society right now, but it is one of the tools that individuals, families, and businesses have when they consider how to spend and invest their charitable dollars. The Greek definition of philanthropy is love of mankind. Based on the current social system, the definition of philanthropy is not nearly as altruistic as it seems. Let's face it. With tax incentives and other personal motivations, philanthropy today is no longer about the love of mankind. Philanthropy today is a transactional process that charities access and for them to receive their financial and human resources or human capital. Therefore, how we manage accessing these resources is critical. One way to manage the resource is to ask questions. I would like to leave you with 3 questions that I pose to my clients, and I will also leave you with answers I have found from some of the world's top business leaders and philosophers. What is the most important thing about philanthropy you can teach your children? Leave children with enough money to do anything they want, but not so much that they won't do anything. Words from Warren Buffett. How can charities position themselves to be innovative? The profit motive could be the best tool for solving the world's problems, more effective than any government or private philanthropy, as shared by Larry Ellison, founder and CEO of Oracle. So after all this, I turn back to the original poem and I pose my final question. Which role are you going to play in this new landscape of Philanthropy 3.0? Will you be the wrecker who clears the way for the builder to develop new growth? Today, more than ever before, life must be characterized by a sense of universal responsibility, not only nation to nation and human to human, but also to other forms of life. From the Dalai Lama. So it's up to you to identify your strengths and choose to be either a builder or a deconstructor.